My name is Ryan, and I used to believe that love, once found, would always feel like discovery. I thought waking up beside someone you adored was enough to keep everything in balance. But love doesn't disappear in grand explosions, it fades quietly. It thins out in silence, in long pauses, in the moments when you reach out, and no one reaches back. That I lived with my boyfriend, Lucas, in a small apartment above a row of closed shops and flickering streetlights. We once filled the place with laughter, dancing while dinner burned, kissing in every corner like we were claiming the space as ours. But lately, Lucas had been swallowed by work. Long shifts, late returns, and a constant exhaustion that left his affection buried under responsibility. That we still shared a bed, yet it felt like we slept worlds apart. That I tried not to resent him. Lucas was building a future for us, or so he said, though I often wondered if he remembered I was supposed to be included in that future. Our conversations had become brief exchanges: did you eat? And, I'm tired, we'll talk tomorrow. Tomorrow rarely came. So, I walked, when stillness made the apartment feel like it was crushing my chest. I wandered through the city. It didn't matter where I went as long as I was moving. Noise comforted me, the distant hum of traffic, the buzz of neon signs, the life of strangers carrying stories I would never know. One evening, as the sky turned dusty purple, I noticed someone who didn't fit into the rhythm around him. Not far from a closed bookstore, a young man stood turning his phone in frustration, as if trying to force it to cooperate. He was dressed in simple, travel-worn clothes, but there was no doubt he was a visitor here, someone far from home. He looked up, making eye contact. His expression carried a mix of confusion and relief, as if he had just spotted someone who might finally help. Hi, he said with a hint of nervousness. Sorry to bother you. Do you know how to get to the old harbor? I think my GPS is having a meltdown. His accent was different, soft, melodic, but his English was easy to follow. I know the place, I replied. You're going in the opposite direction, actually. Oh, he exhaled, laughing at himself. That explains a lot. I'm Ariv, by the way. Ryan, I said, offering my hand. When his fingers brushed mine, a small jolt ran through me. Unexpected. Unwelcome. Intriguing. That he smiled, hopeful. Could you maybe point me the right way? Or, if you're not busy, could you show me? There was no reason I should have said yes. Lucas would be home soon, well, eventually, and I had no real business guiding strangers. But something in Ariv's eyes felt different. There was curiosity there, and kindness, and a hint of admiration that I hadn't seen directed toward me in a long time. That I swallowed my hesitation. Sure. I can walk with you for a bit. Ariv's face brightened instantly. You're a lifesaver. As we began walking, he looked around like everything was new, every sign, every sound, every dim street lamp. His excitement was contagious, and I found myself talking more than I normally would. We joked about how confusing the city layout was, how crowded the markets became at night. He laughed freely, and each time he did, it felt like sunlight cutting through a heavy cloud. So, Ryan, he asked gently, do you live here alone? No, I said quickly. I live with my boyfriend, Lucas. Ariv nodded. That's nice. But his eyes lingered, as though he was trying to understand something unspoken. That we reached a corner where the road split into three. I pointed toward the path leading to the harbor. Go straight from here. You'll see it soon. He glanced that direction, then back at me. A pause. A question forming. I don't want to rush saying goodbye, he admitted quietly. Would you, maybe like to meet again tomorrow? Maybe you could show me more of the city. There it was. A tempting invitation wrapped in innocence that I should have declined. I should have remembered the promises I made, the home I shared, the love I swore I still held, but loneliness answers faster than loyalty. Yeah, I heard myself say. I'd like that. Ariv grinned, warm, genuine, grateful. Then it's a plan. As he walked away, I stood there longer than necessary, heart unsteady, mind racing. That I had only helped a lost tourist, but somehow, in his presence, I found a part of myself I didn't realize had gone missing. The next morning arrived too quickly, sunlight spilling through the blinds as if intent on exposing every secret of the night before. I woke on the couch, the blanket tangled around me, my mind replaying fragments of Ethan and Lucas's departure. Their voices, their touch, their presence lingered like an echo I could not silence. For a moment, I closed my eyes and let myself drift back into that memory, but the weight of reality pressed harder. Michael would be home in 2 days, the thought landed like a stone in my chest. I had betrayed him, not in thought or fleeting fantasy, but in action. I had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Guilt coiled inside me, sharp and insistent, but beneath it lay a quieter truth I dared not name. I had felt alive again. That I moved through the motions of the day, coffee, dishes, tidying the living room, but everything seemed tinged with unreality. The wineglass I had abandoned on the table glared at me like evidence. I washed it slowly, as though scrubbing away more than residue, but the guilt clung stubbornly, immune to water and soaked up by afternoon, I found myself standing before the mirror in the hallway again. My reflection looked different, though I knew the change was invisible to anyone else. My eyes seemed brighter yet burdened, my face both heavier with shame and lighter with some forbidden release. I whispered Michael's name under my breath, testing whether it still carried weight. It did, but the sound trembled with cracks I couldn't ignore. When Michael called that evening, his voice was the same as always, measured, distracted, offering me details of meetings and schedules instead of intimacy. "How are things there?" he asked, not unkindly, but without real curiosity. "Fine," I replied, my throat tight. I almost told him the truth, almost confessed the loneliness that had devoured me, almost dared to say his absence had carved holes I no longer knew how to fill. But the words froze. What good would they do now? He wouldn't understand, or worse, he would. And then everything would crumble. After the call ended, I sat in the darkened living room, the silence pressing in once more. Only this time, the silence was layered with memory. Every corner of the room reminded me of the night before, the chair where Ethan sat, the couch where Lucas leaned close, the place by the door where they paused before leaving. I wondered if they thought of me too, or if for them it was nothing more than a fleeting indulgence. That uncertainty gnawed at me. Had I been just a diversion, or had they sensed the depth of my longing, the fracture in my life that begged to be filled? By the time night returned, I felt myself split in two. One part of me was loyal still, bound to Michael by years of history and promises spoken in good faith. The other part, raw and restless, yearned for the connection I had tasted. I drifted to the porch, staring out at the street where Ethan and Lucas had appeared. My chest tightened at the thought of seeing them again, but they didn't come. The night passed quietly, almost mockingly so, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I realized then that what I feared most was not discovery by Michael, it was the possibility of never feeling that alive again. As the hours stretched on, I sank into the weight of my choice. Infidelity was not a single act, I understood now, it was a door I had opened, one that could not be closed simply by pretending it hadn't happened. The memory of that night was a current pulling me forward, even as the world demanded I step back into routine, and in that tension, caught between guilt and desire, I sensed my story was only beginning. I tried to sleep that night, but Ariv's words echoed in every corner of my mind. "Do you feel loved?" I wanted to dismiss the question, bury it beneath excuses. But truth doesn't disappear just because you refuse to face it. Lucas came home late again. He kissed my forehead, whispered a tired good night, and fell asleep with his back turned to me. The distance between us was small, but it felt like an entire ocean. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering when we stopped reaching for each other that I told myself I wouldn't meet Ariv tomorrow, but my heart had already made the decision for me. When I arrived at the cafe, Ariv was there, waiting just as before. But this time, his smile held something deeper, anticipation with a fragile layer of doubt, like he wasn't sure whether I would actually show. "You came," he said quietly. "I did," I replied, every word a betrayal I chose willingly. That we walked without a destination. The city hummed around us, traffic lights blinking, evening markets buzzing, laughter drifting from crowded restaurants. But inside that noise, we existed in silence. A silence heavy with meaning, desire, and fear. Ariv finally broke it. "I don't want to make your life harder, Ryan." "You're not," I lied. "You're torn," he corrected softly. "I can see it." I inhaled shakily. "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." He stopped and faced me, his voice barely above a whisper. "You're doing what any person does when they feel unseen, you're searching for light." His hand brushed mine again. This time, I didn't pull away. We wandered near the waterfront, the sky a canvas of fading blue and rising night. Streetlights flickered into life, reflecting across the rippling water. It felt like the kind of place where confessions were inevitable. "Ryan," Ariv said, his voice trembling slightly, "I really like you." I closed my eyes. Hearing it out loud made everything sharper. "Reeler, you barely know me," I said, trying to erect a shield already full of holes. "Oh, I do," he murmured. "I know your kind. I know you're hurting. And I know you pretend you're okay because it feels easier than asking for more. My throat tightened. Lucas loves me, I insisted, though my voice betrayed doubt. I don't doubt he does, Arav replied. But does he show it? Does he choose you the way you choose him? The questions cut deeper than I wanted to admit. Arav stepped closer, so close that our foreheads nearly touched. The space between us was a single breath. You deserve to feel wanted, he whispered. The air disappeared. The world faded, all that remained was him. My gaze dropped to his lips at the same moment his eyes searched mine for permission. Neither of us should have wanted that. I should have stepped back, that I should have remembered my promises, that I should have been stronger than the loneliness consuming me. Instead, I leaned forward, our lips met, softly at first, a careful question. Then deeper, desperate, the kind of kiss that feels like relief after years of holding your breath. His hands cupped my face, and I melted into the warmth I had been craving. That it lasted only a few seconds, but they changed everything. That I pulled away abruptly, guilt burning through the pleasure. I can't, I whispered, shaking. This is wrong. Arav's voice cracked with restraint. I know. I'm sorry. I just wanted you to feel something. I do, I admitted, tears stinging my eyes. That's the problem. He stepped back, hands falling to his sides. The loss of contact was instant and unbearable. I leave tomorrow, he said quietly. Maybe it's better this way. My heart clenched. I hated how much that hurt. That he offered a weak smile, full of what-ifs. I hope he sees you. Truly sees you. Because you're worth seeing. Before I could respond, before I could stop him, he turned and walked away, each step the sound of something breaking inside me. When I returned home, Lucas was awake, waiting in the dim glow of a single lamp. His eyes were tired, but soft. I'm sorry, he whispered, pulling me into a hesitant embrace. I know I've been distant. I miss us. I froze in his arms, guilt flooding every vein. That I had wanted this moment for so long, yet all I could feel was the ghost of Arav's kiss lingering against my lips. Some infidelities are loud, mine was a whisper, a single moment of truth in the silence of a love that forgot how to speak.